My name's Sam and this is the Little Greenhouse Creates. Thank you for joining me today and welcome to our stamp set of the week, Pop-Up Petals. It is a bundle, so it comes with a stamp set and some dies. Now, Wednesday and Friday we'll be looking at the dies, but for today we're going to focus just on the stamp set. It comes with 16 images, of which 4 are sentiments and the rest are all images, so that makes 12, doesn't it? Good job, I knew my maths there. Okay, but it's two-step stamping on the actual flowers. So the rose has got petals, you've got the outline. Sorry, I sound like I've run a mile and I haven't actually. So let's take a deep breath. Oof. Okay, so we have a rose which has the infill of the leaves and the petals. I have a a tulip here. It fills in just the petals, so I suppose you could use pens to colour those in. You've got sunflowers, so you've got a sunflower outline, then you've got the fill-in for the leaves, and then you've got here, these 4 are the innards. You've got a single head of a sunflower, you've got a very cute butterfly and 2 vases, and then you've got thanks for being there, grateful for your friendship, you get me and I appreciate that, you make my life better by just being in it, which I think is quite a nice sentiment, quite a romantic sentiment I suppose you could say. Anyway, as I say, we're going to focus on these today. We're going to do a quick card. Now I would normally say it's a quick card as it's a Monday, but it's actually Tuesday because we went away for a lovely long weekend, my husband and I, to the Isle of Wight, which is one of our favourite locations to go to. So here I am on Tuesday creating this card. So it is a 3-layer card. So you've got the base, then you've got your normal matte layer, a second matte layer which is raised up on dimensionals, and I have got a piece of white, and then inside we've got a new stamp set with the most amazing sentiment, happy birthday. I don't mean the sentiment happy birthday is amazing, I meant the structure of the stamp, should I say, is amazing. It just really punches a good old pow. And then of course we've got the rose. Right, enough waffling, let's bring in the supplies. So I have got post-it notes, always very handy for this particular card. I have Lost Lagoon, which measures 8 inches by 8 inches, which measures, take a deep breath, 8 inches by 5 3/4. My brain is slightly still on holiday mode. Then I've got Bubble Bath. This measures 5.5 by 3 3/4. Then I've got more Lost Lagoon. This measures 3.5 by 5 1/4. We have a white piece which measures 5 by 3 1/4. Now normally the inside layer would be 3.5 by 5 or 3 1/4 by 5. However, because the sentiment I'm using is so big, I've actually upped it. So this is 3 3/4 by 5.5, just so that I can get the happy birthday on there. Okay, so let's move these away and I will start with the stamping. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in the happy birthday. Now this is a new stamp. It comes from the new stamp set Layered Thoughts, and as you can see you've got love, happy birthday, thank and thinking, and then in small letters you've got to, you and of. So you've got happy birthday to you, love you, thank you and thinking of you. So that works really, really well. So I'm very excited about this new happy birthday. Some might say I need to get a life, but I do like this image and I think it's going to work really well with quite a few cards. If not on the outside, definitely on the inside. So because it is so large, I'm taking my ink pad to the image rather than the other way around. It just makes doing it so much easier. Right, so let's stamp that. There we go. I have a very busy house today, so apologies if you can hear banging and crashing. I am in my office, but people are working on the outside of my office, but around it. So, okay, so there's the happy birthday. Then I'm going to bring in my sunflowers. I used the roses in the previous card, and for this one I'm going to use my sunflowers. So I'm going to stamp these up in the yellow, and I'm just going to pop it down there and leave it to dry. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wash this down, because I'm actually going to, on the front of the card, stamp it in the green. So make sure that's green. Okay. So the first thing I need to do is I'm going to bring in my sentiment, let's celebrate. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the word let's celebrate. This is from the Stamp Said Simply Said. It's one of the ones I use quite regularly. Come on. Look, you've been working fine all day. Don't start now. There we go. If you do find it's playing up, then the simple thing to do is run a tiny piece of what can I say? It's sticky tape. So sticky tape along there. So my husband is outside the door of my glass office, and he's decided that now is the time to sweep up the leaves. So apologies if you can hear him. Right, okay, so let's celebrate. Make sure it's the right way round to start with. It's always a good look. I'm going to bring it down to the bottom, lower than my previous one, because just bear with me for a second. So where was I? I know I have the Let's Celebrates higher up because the flowers were not so large, but I have got larger flowers here, which are the sunflowers, so I've moved my sentiment lower down. I'm going to bring in my Lost Lagoon. I'm going to stamp my vase, and then I'm just going to make sure that that's lowish down. If it's too low down and it looks silly, we can always add butterflies to take off the huge space. Right, so what I'm going to do is stamp this. The glue is at the top here, so I'm going to stick the bottom of the vase there. Close this down for a second. Okay, I'm going to take a small pair of scissors. I'm going to chop that across there. Okay, and then I'm going to cut, rather than around the vase, I'm going to cut on the line of the vase. Reason being is that way it helps me to make sure that the vases look like they're behind each other and there's no gap. Whereas if you were to cut on the outside of the line, then the vase wouldn't line up and you'd have this ugly little looking what do I call it? Gap. That's what I call it. I call it a gap. Right, so this now goes onto here. Hold that down. Right, and now we're going to bring in our other vase, and I am going to use the bubble bath for the other vases. And let's tap it up there. I'm just going to check it. Yeah, that's good. Right, bring it down. I'm going to put my short-sighted glasses on so I can see what the heck I'm doing. So there's one. Okay, and then I'm going to do exactly the same on the other side. Make it higher up slightly this time. And over a bit. There we are. Okay, so as you can see now, they look like they're behind each other. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this piece if I can pick it up. And I'm going to run it across the top of the vase, just like so. Then I'm going to bring in my flowers. Make sure I can see just a tiny bit of the green or the Lost Lagoon. And then I'm going to add my flowers. There we go. That's one. Then I'm going to bring in, I've got these green here, so I'm going to tap these. I haven't tried this one, so we're going to sit here with all our fingers crossed and make sure everything works. So I'm going to tap that to there. So that's coming out of there. Do exactly the same on this side. Try not to keep moving it, which is what I'm obviously doing. So let's do that. Bring it down. Just want to try and avoid, there we go. I wanted to try and avoid overlapping that. That's perfect. Then I'm going to bring in my yellow sunflower. And I'm going to line it up there. And the same with that one. Okay. We're going to bring in the other leaves. And these will come in the leaves on the main flower. Like so. And I'm just going to make sure that I've got, bringing it right down here so I can actually see what the heck I'm doing. There we go. Hold that down for a second and bring it up. Lovely. Okay, now I'm going to bring in the dots, and that's going to fill in for my flowers here. Now I'm going to clean this and I'm going to try and only ink up this one circle. I'm going to tap it on the very edge like so, which should mean that I can fill in the center of each one of those spare flowers I've got. There we go, all nicely filled in. So that is our flowers. Now you could colour these in, but I'm actually going to leave them spare or clear for this particular card. But as I said, for yourselves, you could colour it in with a garden green ink pen, blender pen, which will give you what you need. Right, so let's layer these up together now. So that one's going to go on top of there. I'm going to use my multi-purpose. I'm going to layer that over here. I have to say, I really like the colours of this. Wasn't sure initially when I, you know, when you choose colours, you go, yes, I love that, I think that's amazing. And then when you start stamping with it, you think, oh, is it going to work? But I really like those. I'm quite pleased with that. Okay, I'm now going to turn this over and I am going to layer it up with dimensionals. Now, I did try the normal 5, but what I found was that it dipped. So, because this is such a large space, I'm going to add dimensionals extra dimensionals on the outside. Pick up my pick tool and I can take those off. That's better. There we are. Perfect. Right. Turn those over now. I'm going to layer that onto the pink or the bubble bath. I want to call it bubblegum because it reminds me of the colour of bubblegum when I was a kid, but it's bubble bath. So there we go. Glue that up with the multi-purpose. That will go down into the centre like so. Just run my bone folder just around the edges just to make sure that it has stuck down well. There we go. And then the only thing we need to do now, as long as I can pick it up, is our inside. And again, I'm going to use the multi-purpose. Perfect. Right, thank you ever so much for joining me today. As I say, apologies that we didn't have the card on Monday, but hopefully we've made up for it today. And we'll be back again tomorrow with our next card, so do join me then. Thanks ever so much, everybody. Take care. Bye.